Welcome, adventurers. Join me as we explore the wild and learn to thrive in nature. What if you could automate 80% of your workflow by next week? Let's break it down.
Hello, dear ones. Let's unlock the wonders of digital skills together, ready to learn.
Hey tech rebels, let's tear apart this gizmo and rock the latest gadgets, no apologies.
In this video, I'll show you exactly how to generate videos just like we've seen there, for the ability to have independent characters that we can reuse across multiple videos, as well as being able to have a voiceover over the top, so that we can create some viral videos using this model incredibly cheaply. And we're going to run through everything from scratch today. So as you saw there's some of the outputs, but how do we achieve it? So let's give this a quick test and see exactly how it works. So we'll come down the bottom, we'll be able to paste our prompt in there. This is going to start the process for us. So again, we don't have to do anything ourselves. We're going to be able to get this AI agent that will write the prompts for us. That's going to be both for the image generation as well as our transcript or our audio that we're going to be using as well. We're going to be able to generate the image in lots of different styles. We can do it really realistic. We can do it more animated in different characters, whichever one we want. Store all of this in Google Drive, and we're going to be able to get the seed. So if we want to make it reproducible, we can do that as well. We're also going to come through and have a voice agent generated incredibly cheaply, incredibly quickly, so that we can go through and use this. We've already gone through and actually generated a project for us to merge all of this data together, so we get the end result like you saw a bit earlier on. We're going to wait for this to complete. It's going to generate the project for us, come back with both the video and the actual audio stitched together. So whilst we wait for this to go through, if we come across to where we've got our Google Drive, we'll be able to come into here and we can see this is the podcast host that we're going to be getting, as well as that MP3 file ready to go already for that voice that we're going to be using. We'll be able to come back across to our environment. We've got the project ready to go by the looks of it. It's just going through and getting that final step. So we'll wait for this to complete. So there we go. It's been able to generate our project. We've got it returned back to us. And now we've been able to store it into our Google Drive. So we'll just wait for this step to complete and we'll be able to go through and check the video. So it looks like it's all finished. We'll come across, we'll be able to refresh our folder in here. And now we've got that video ready to go. So we'll just wait for it to finish processing. So it's all uploaded. We'll be able to open this up and it should play straight away.
What if you could automate 80% of your workflow by next week? Let's break it down.
So that's what we're going to be building today. And if you want to get access to all of the resources, all you need to do is come in over to the community, make sure to come across to Classroom. You'll get access to all of these resources from day one. We'll come into video generation. We'll come to where we've got how to create viral talking videos. We'll come a bit further down. Again, you'll get all of this information here so that you can copy and paste nice and easily. Or if we come down the bottom, you can download this blueprint here, come across to a new environment, do the 3 dots and then import from file, select the file, open it up, and there you go, it'll be all ready for you so that you can start using it straight away. But as mentioned, we're going to start building this from scratch together. So we're going to get rid of all of this. We're going to add our first step in here, which is going to be our chat trigger. We'll run through some of the pricing a bit later on how much this costs as well. So we'll do our AI agent next. We're then going to come through and add a system message. So we'll do expression and pop this out. We'll come back across to the community. We'll come and get our AI agent prompt that's in here. We'll be able to copy all of this and then we'll be able to paste in here. So again, what we're basically saying is we've got a master agent that's going to be generating a file name, an image prompt, a script as well, and the voice selection, because the model that we're going to be going through and using had a couple of different ones so that we've got some optionality based on that prompt that we've put in. And we've given it some example inputs and outputs of what we're looking to achieve. We're going to add a specific output. And what we're going to do is come out of here. We'll add our chat memory. So we're going to be using OpenAI to keep the cost nice and low. We're going to be using ChatGPT 4o Mini to keep those costs nice and low. And if you've not done it before, you need to come across to Playground of OpenAI, dashboard, API keys, create a new key. You'll be able to copy it, come across, and then add your API key in here, and you'll be all ready to go and able to use the model. We're going to come out of here. We're going to add some chat memory. And what this will enable us to do in this use case is remember the last 5 messages that came through. Now what we're going to do is add our output parser. So we're going to do a JSON output. And then I want you to come through and we'll access the resources. So you've got access to this. We need a file name, an image prompt, an audio prompt, as well as a voice as well. So it's going to go through and choose that specific one. So now we can do save. We'll be able to give this a quick test. So we'll come open our chat, paste our prompt in there. And in this case, we're going to do an AI and automation podcast host. As we can see here, we've now got a file name, we've got an image prompt, an audio prompt as well, and the ability to go through and generate this voice over the top as well. What we may want to do is go through and say, we are doing a male podcast post for the prompt, just to make sure that we get that voice matching up. So as we can see here, we've now got Michael that's going to be able to go through and it's going to be confident male podcast host to make sure that voice definitely matches up. We'll be able to come out of here. We're going to do Google and then Drive. We're going to want to store all of the files that we generate. So we're going to do create a folder. This is going to enable us to have each of the products with a specific folder. If you've not added your Google account before, I'll include the link below to this resource page here, just around how to set it up. We've also got lots of other videos on the channel that show exactly how to do it. We'll come back across. We're going to change our folder name. So we're going to do the file name here. We're going to change the parent folder because what we want to do is be able to generate a new one. So what we're going to do is come through. We're going to do from list. I'm going to choose AI and then podcast because I've got a folder here, which is just where I'm storing all of the different information that we've generated throughout these demos that we've done. We'll be able to do test step. So now if I come across to our Google Drive, what we should see if I just refresh this, we've now got a confident male podcast host as we got here. That will be able to go through and add all of our information into. Brilliant. So now we've got the ID as well. What we can do is start to generate the actual images and the audio. So we're going to do a HTTP request. We're going to come back across to the community. We're going to be able to copy this curl request here, which is going to be for our Flux image generation. So we'll do import and we'll be able to have all of the information in here ready to go. What we're using is the Replicate Flux 1.1 Pro Ultra because this is going to help us keep our costs nice and low. So as you can see here, $0.06 per image. And we can see down here, or 6 cents an image, 6p an image. So that means to generate 100 images is going to cost around £100. So again, $100, so it keeps it nice and low. What we'll also be able to do is run with an API, but the reason I love Replicate is because they've got all of these different models available, so you can go through and try the different ones, find out which ones may be more realistic that you want to use, like ideogram, or ones that are good at text. You've got different styles in here that have all been optimized to go through and use it. So again, it gives you a lot of abilities to go through and generate lots of different styles, but also critically, what we can do in here is get access to the seed. Now we cover this a lot in our masterclass around the image generation. So we'll come into here. This is all around how to get the best outputs possible from some of our image generation models. But what we can do a bit further down here is we can see that seed. So we'll be able to generate lots of images of that same person or whatever it may be in the specific photos that we're generating. We'll be able to come out of here. We'll be able to do run with API, for example, and this is where you'd be able to build it out from scratch with all of this information here, plus analyzing the input schema for all of the different options that you've got to generate images. We're going to come out of here. We've got it all ready to go for our Flux Image Pro HTTP URL up the top here. We're going to need to generate a API key. So we want to come across to our account settings. So again, API tokens, and then it will take you into this screen. I've already got one ready to go here, but you'll be able to add a token name in there, create it, and you'll be good to go. We're going to come back across. I'm going to add my API key in here that was generated, and we'll be able to come down the bottom, change to expression, open this up, and add in our different prompts. So where we've got our prompt here, what we're going to be able to do is remove that. We're going to replace the image prompt in there. We've got the aspect ratio as 9:16, so that vertical for social media, that's great. We're going to have a PNG output. We want it to be raw because what that enables us to do is, if I come back across, is we're going to have a much more realistic or natural looking output versus having it turned off. Safety tolerance and prompt strength, we won't cover that now. That's just some of the more advanced side of generating the images. We'll be able to rename this to generate image. We'll be able to do test step. Now what this will do is go and trigger the generation of that specific image in our Replicate account. What we'll do is come out of here. We're going to come across to headers. This is where we're going to be able to generate our video at the end, which is going to have both that image that we generated of the character, as well as the audio, sort of the speech that goes with it as well. What you're going to need to do is sign up for an account. You're going to need at least this basic one here, which is $10 a month, but that's the most expensive part of this entire process. The rest of it is incredibly cheap to run. I'll also put some prices on screen at the end that just shows you how much it would roughly cost to generate each of these videos that go through. Once you've logged in, you want to create an account. You want to come down to where you've got your API plan. You want to create an API key. You're going to copy this API key, and we're going to come back across here. We're going to need to do a HTTP request. We're going to need to import our curl. Now, I've already got this ready in the community, so we'll just come back across to where we've got the guidance, or the curl, sorry, and we'll come down here. We'll be able to do generate a Hedra asset. We'll be able to copy and then paste in here, or import. We're just going to need to come back and get our API key again because it'll have wiped it, and we'll paste in there. What we're looking to do here is basically generate an asset. So that's going to have almost like a folder that we're going to be able to store our generated images into, or that generated audio into. It won't just let you upload a file. It's one of the ways that Hedra works. You've got to have an asset which you'll then load a file into. At the end, you'll then tie all of those different assets together to get a complete project. We'll be able to come down here. You'll be able to give it a different name, for example. And critically, we've got the image one here, and we're going to change that to be audio for later on. We're going to name this to create Hedra asset images. We'll be able to do rename, and now that'll be all good to go. So now we can do test step. We're not looking for anything out the back here that's been built. We're going to need this ID for a bit later on. We're going to come out of here. We're going to do another HTTP request. We'll come back across to the community because we're going to need to get our image from our replicate account that we've just generated. We're going to paste in here. We're then going to need to make a few changes. So we're going to change to expression. We're going to put across our generated image ID. We're then going to come further down and add our API key in here. Now we'll be able to come a bit further down. We're not going to need the rest of this. But what it's going to enable us to do is get all of the information back for that specific image. So now if I do test step, what we should see is we get all of this back, but actually we're going to get rid of this. We're going to put across where we've got our output, because this is going to download our specific image straight away for us to be able to store. And this is going to be the character that we're going to go through and get speaking a little bit later on. So we'll do save. We'll say get image. There we go. We're going to do a Google and then Drive, Google Drive. I'm going to do upload a file, because now we're going to go through and update this binary file, i.e. the actual image, to be stored in our Google Drive. We're going to come across, we're going to make sure that we've got our file name specified. So I'm going to change this to expression. We can then either give it the Hedra asset name, or in this case, I'm going to go back to the start, and we're going to use the one that's come from file name so that we've got access to that. We'll be able to say character and then the name. And as we saw a bit earlier, you'll be able to come through and change that file back to the ID that we generated earlier. So now if we come into our actual podcast host, we'll be able to come into here. We'll see that we've got nothing in there at the moment. We'll come back across, do test step. And now what it should do is go through and upload our file into here so that we can use it a bit later on, but also go back and access it if we need to. So we'll just wait for this to go green. There we go. We're going to come back across. And what we should do is if we refresh this, we should have our image in here that we'll be able to use. Again, the reason that we're doing it with Flux is so we get that seed. So if we came back across to where we've got our predictions, we'll be able to see the ones that we've run in the past through an API. So for example, here we can see the output. If we open the full prediction, we'll also be able to come a bit further down. We can see the logs here. And what we can see is that specific seed. So if we wanted to go through and generate more images with this specific character, it would be able to do that and replicate that specific individual or whatever it is that you've got every single time. We'll come back across. We'll now see that we've got all of that images uploaded. We're going to do another HTTP request because we've uploaded it onto our Google Drive, but now we need to upload it into Hedra so that we can generate a video with it. We're going to come back across to the community. We're going to come and get this curl request here, import from curl, and then we're going to do import. So what we're going to need to change is a few things in here. So for the URL, we're going to need to change where we've got our asset ID. So we're going to come across to the left-hand side. We're going to get rid of this asset ID placeholder for now. We're then going to put across where we've got the ID, because that's, again, that almost folder where we're going to store it in Hedra. We're going to come out of there. We're going to come a bit further down. We need to add our API key back in. So we'll come back across to our account, and then we'll copy this and then come back in here, paste in there, and we'll be all good to go. we can see that we've got some elements down here for the actual file. So we need to upload this binary file on the left-hand side here into Hedera. So to do that, we're going to need to come down. We're going to need to do data, or whatever this binary file is called on the left-hand side here. So that will be able to upload all of that into Hedera for us to generate an image with. We'll be able to do test step. This will go and upload it for us so that we've got it all safe and secure, and we'll be able to go through and use it a bit later on for our video that we're going to generate. We'll just pin this data for now, and we'll rename this to upload image to Hedera. There we go. We're going to come out of there. We're going to do save. So that's our image generation complete. We'll be able to save, come out of there, and now we'll do more or less exactly the same, but for the voice that we're going to generate instead. So I'll just duplicate this. We'll bring it down at bottom and change to generate voice. We'll be able to come out of here. We're going to pull across again. We'll do HTTP request. We're then going to come across to the community again. We're going to need to generate our voice mode. So this is going to be this model here. We're going to copy this curl. We'll come across and paste in there. This has got a couple of different settings so that we can go through and use that. What you can do though is find the original version. So again, you want to come across to explore. You want to come down to where we've got all tasks or all models, whichever one you prefer. And we'll be able to see here this version for generate speech. You have lots of different options here. I'm just using the one right at the top. As we saw here, there's been used 23 million runs, and we'll be able to run with the API. And as you can see here, if we change to HTTP, we've got the original curl here. But again, I've made some changes that just include some more of the JSON so we can make it a little bit more dynamic. We'll come back across to our AI agent. We're going to come down to our predictions. We're going to need to add our API key in there. There we go. We'll come a bit further down. We'll see that we've got some text here. So we'll change to expression and we'll pop this out. We'll then see on the left-hand side, what we're able to do is get rid of this text here. And we'll be able to pull across this audio prompt that we generated a bit earlier. We can also get rid of the voice because that's where we made it dynamic. So we can go through and change that. And you can change the speed for how fast that person, that character, whatever it is, will be able to speak. We'll be able to do test step. This will send off for our request so that it's going to start generating that voice. Again, if we come back across, what we'll see is on the playground, how cheap this is to run. So as you can see here, each model is around $0.0022 to run, or around 4,545 runs is around $1. So again, incredibly cheap to be able to generate the outputs that we're looking for. And you can see here, it started to generate it on the right hand side. We've got it as a WAV file, but that's where if we come across and we do explore, what you'll be able to see is actually there's lots of different versions that you can do. So for example, when I was playing around with it, what you can do is come into here, Max, you can use that instead and it will generate more of an MP3 file if you need it in that format instead for some of the other versions that you can go through and use. So we'll come out of there, we're going to do save. Again, we're going to need to come through and generate the Hedera actual file so that we can store that audio with it. We'll come back across to the community. We're going to come into here where we've got uploading of the assets. We'll be able to copy this, come across, come into here, and then import from curl. We'll be able to do import. What we're going to need to change is the type, and we're going to change this to audio. Then we'll be able to come a bit further up. Again, you can change the name if you want. So I'm just going to put a file in there, for example, so that we can get our output. We're going to need our API key again. So come back across, copy, and then paste back in here. If you're a bit more comfortable with it, you can come through and add it as one of these credentials, create generic credential type so that you can go through and use that. In this case, it would be one of the header auths if you needed to go through and use that instead. We'll be able to come down. We can rename this to where we've got our generate asset audio, or you can call it voice, whatever you prefer. We'll do test step. Again, this will go off and generate a folder for us to store that voice into. We'll be able to just duplicate here where we're going to be getting the audio files. This is going to be that voice from the actual AI agent that we generated. Come into here. We'll rename this to get voice. We'll be able to get rid of this. And then what we're going to do is pull across where we had the output on the left-hand side here of that WAV file. So being able to use that instead. We'll be able to download. It will come on the right-hand side here. We'll be able to do save. And then again, we're going to do Google and Drive so that we can go through and just store this voice. We'll do upload, again, a file. We've got the information on the left-hand side here. We can say voice. And then if we wanted to, we can come right back to the start and we can do that file name. And then we'll be able to get rid of the spaces. come down to where we've got the files as well. So it's storing it all together. Get rid of that and then pull across where we've got the ID from that Google Drive that we generated a bit earlier. So now, again, we've got nothing in here at the moment apart from the image. We'll come back across, test the step, and we should see it generate it on the right-hand side here. So there we go. Now, if I just refresh this, we've now got both the audio as well as the picture in here for us to be able to use. We'll come out of there, we'll do save. We're now going to have to upload that actual audio into Hedra as well. So we'll come down, we'll add that in there. We'll come across to the left-hand side. We're going to need to change again our audio ID that we had from earlier on. So we're going to get rid of where we had it for the image and then pull across that ID. We'll be able to come out of here. We've got, again, the rest of the file here ready to go because it's going to be the binary on the left-hand side. So now if we unpin this, we'll be able to do test step and it should be able to upload the file for us. No issues. There we go. So now we can just rename this to upload audio to Hedra. So there we go. We'll be able to do save. Again, if we just pin this data, we'll be able to go through and do that next stage, which is all around tying it together. So we'll be able to do merge. We're going to come out of there. We'll pull it up to the top a little bit more. We'll be able to connect these two inputs together. We'll be able to do test step. This will join all of that data together. It looks like it's going through and just generating that image for us. So again, that's where, because we showed you at the start, it'll go through and do it at the same time. In this case, because we're testing it, it's just going through and having to generate those images for us. So now we'll wait for this to come back. As we can see here, we've now got both of them ready to go. To join them together, we're going to have to use a code module, and then we're going to come back across to the community because we're going to need this in here so that we can actually join it all together and use it in the next step. So now we can see that we've got we can see lots of different items here. We'll come through and do test step. And then what we should be able to do is join it together to get one output with only one image and one audio. So there we go. That's what we want. We'll be able to come out of there, do save. We're now going to want to go through and do HTTP request because Hedra have got lots of different models that are available to the public. So we want to make sure that we're using that latest and greatest that's available. So we're going to come back across. We'll go into our community. We're going to say get the latest models here. Come across, import the curl. We're then going to need to get our API key as well. So we'll copy and then paste across in here. So now what we should do is on the right hand side, get the latest model ID that's available for us to generate the output that we want. So there we go, up the top here, ready to go. We'll rename this to get the latest model, and then we'll come out of there and do save. And now what we're going to do is a HTTP request to generate our actual file. So again, back to the community, we're going to generate a project here, copy and then paste the code in there. We're going to say that we've got our generations API key. We've got the actual code in here ready to go. And we're going to need to change the actual information that we're sending across. So we're going to pull this across. Our AI model ID is going to be that one that we just got from that latest model. We're going to need to add our image asset ID in here. So we're going to get rid of this. We're then going to put across where we've got our image ID. So that's in there. We'll then collapse this down because then what we're going to need is our audio ID as well. So we'll pull that across in there. We've said that it's going to be 5 seconds long, 1080p, and it's going to be in 16:9 format. So that's social media one that we can use across lots of different platforms. We're going to say create project. We'll be able to do test step. And now it's going to be able to go off and generate this project. So it's going to merge all of that data together for us, as we can see there. So now it's going off and generating it. Now this takes a little while to happen. So what we're going to do is put a wait module in here. We're going to wait, say 15 seconds, again, maybe a minute in here, just for that initial kickstart of getting that project going. What we're then going to need to do is come down. We're going to do a HTTP request, because we're going to need to go through and get the status of that project to see if it's completed or not. So we'll come down, we'll copy this. We're going to import our curl in here. We're going to add our API key across again as well. So we'll add that in there. Now we'll be able to come down and we'll say update to get status. So we'll come back to where we've got wait. We'll do test step in here. This is just going to make us wait for that minute. Then we'll be able to go through and just test out that new one that we've got here for getting the status of how that project's being developed. So there we go, all completed. We'll now come through and we'll be able to check our status by coming into here. Open this up. We're going to get rid of where it's got the generation ID placeholder. We're going to put across this ID here back into in between those brackets. We've already got our API key in here ready to go. So now if we do test step, we should see the status of that project on the right hand side here. we'll be able to see if it's completed, started, or in this case, it's still queued and waiting to be processed. So in that case, we want to do an if statement. We'll put across the status and we'll say if it is equal to completed, we can go one way. If not, we'll go the other way. So now we're renaming this to completed. We'll say if it's false, we'll do a wait. So that's where it's going to go back through and just try and trigger that again. So again, maybe you want to make this 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, just so you go through and find how quickly it does it for you, as Hedera and many other platforms out there improve their processing times. We'll then be able to do a HTTP request, because what we're going to do is be able to get the video. So we'll come across and then get this last step here, which will be where we're actually going to be able to download that file as an MP4. As you can see here, output video MP4. We'll just add our API key in here. So we'll copy and then paste in here. There we go. And we're going to need to add our video URL in here. We're just going to need to wait for that to complete so we can go through and use it. So now if we do test status again, we'll see that it's still queued. So we'll just wait for this to come back. So there we go. It looks like it's all complete. The video is good to go. And we've got our URL here. So now if I do test step, what we should see is that it goes through this true path because we've actually got that ready to go. There we go. So we can go through, replace where we've got in here our video URL, and we've got our authentication ready to go. And we specify that we want it to be a file, but then we'll change it to be data down here, because if we do test step, what we're going to need it to do is just output that field, that video that we had from a bit earlier. So now we should get, there we go, the completed video ready to go. So now if we do save, we'll be able to do merge, because we're going to be able to combine the possible videos from a bit earlier on, as well as add it to our Google Drive so that we can go through and actually store it with everything else. We'll do combine. We're going to do all possible combinations. We're then going to do test step. And what it should do is give us our data, so our file that we've got here, as well as all of the information from our Google Drive a bit earlier on. So now we'll be able to do Google and then Drive. There we go, Google Drive. Upload a file. We'll be able to say that we've got the data on the left-hand side here. The name we can put across. So we just want it to be the name here. And we'll just put video in front. And then we're going to add it to our parent folder here. So again, we'll change to expression. We're going to get rid of this. We're going to put across the ID that we've got on the left-hand side here. We'll do test step. And now what it will be able to do is go through and upload that file back onto our Google Drive. So we've got everything. We've got that image. We've got the audio. So we can go through and use it if we wanted to across different platforms. So we've got here, we've now got the video that's come back. So I'll just open this up.
Let's dive into the future of AI and automation together.
So there we go. As you can see, that's been able to generate a video incredibly quickly for us. And it's got someone that's able to speak in the background. So if you want to get access to any of the resources, make sure you come across to the community. You've got all of the ones down here, as well as much, much more that you get access to from day one across all of these different masterclasses. We've got lots of assets on the ability to generate AI agents. Stay tuned for more around AI agents, automation, and have a great day.